Hey, I'm Jackie, and this is Michelle, and welcome to Dating Games V2. Whether you're newly single, divorced, or simply waking up to the possibility of love once again, you're in the right place because, yeah, Dating Games, we believe it's not about him, it's about you. And today we'll be sharing a deeply personal topic. It's called the divorce that set me free, that set us free, in fact. Michelle, hi, welcome back. How are you doing?
Great. A little bit of jet lag
Mhm.
still, but
I
we're
bet.
powering through. It's going to be fine
Excellent.
eventually.
Absolutely. Now, this may sound a bit unusual because divorce is often seen as loss or a failure or the ending of a life that you built. And I know these words and these feelings very well because it's exactly how I felt.
Mm,
But for me, something else happened, something unexpected, something that at that point seemed completely unimaginable. And that is that the divorce was the gateway, it was the doorway to a new beginning. So I'd like to take our listeners back to how it all unfolded. And for years, as a married woman, I didn't speak up. I convinced myself that saying the truth out loud about how I felt, about what was actually happening behind closed doors, would feel like a betrayal of the marriage. We don't always speak to our friends or air our dirty laundry. Um, so we don't really get a perspective, an
yeah.
additional perspective. We're in our little bubbles of what's happening in our lives at this point in time. And what I didn't realize was that for a very long time, I would almost say for 50% of my marriage, conservatively, I
Mm,
was a single married woman. And I had I didn't share it with friends. I didn't share it with family. Both my parents
mm,
had passed away, and so I had no point of reference as if, is this right? Is this wrong? Am I doing the right thing? Is this normal? I
mm,
just felt like, if I spoke about how I truly felt, it would be, oh, you are betraying the marriage. It's like women when we give birth, we say how glorious it is. We don't speak about the pain and the suffering and that's
right.
just before giving birth. What happens afterward, the postpartum depression, my baby's not feeding well, all of these things, because it's
Mm,
kind of seen as the shadows of life. We just want to speak about the beautiful, glorious things. And so for me, I stayed silent and I carried that weight. What I didn't realize was happening to me was that I was losing Jackie the woman. I was sacrificing my own joy, my own voice for the appearance of the relationship. And
mm,
at first, it feels normal. It's a very slow chipping away
yeah,
gradual process.
absolutely.
It's like the frog in the park, right? Um, And then and then you wake up and you realize, oh my God, I've been silent for such a long period of time in order to keep this facade of peace. But whose peace am I really keeping?
Yeah.
One of the massive lessons that I learned last year was, and I'll quote it from another coach who said to me, your joy your joy and your happiness is as important as everybody else's in the family. And often, as women and as mothers in particular, we are ranked either it's husband, then kids, or it's kids, then husband, then dog's poop, then everybody else in between, and then it's you right at the bottom.
Mm,
And we joke about it. But the truth is, that is exactly what happened. And I'm also aware of the fact that I played a huge role in that. And now part of my learning is the responsibility that I accept for my own choices, for my own decisions, for placing myself at the bottom. No, now I get to prioritize myself. And now I say I am as important as everybody else in our family. Because really on the outside, actually we looked like a beautiful family. Had had people not known about the worms in the apple, nobody would
yeah.
know. I know for you it was the same. The external perception was important,
Well,
right?
in my case, I was also kind of I bought in to the perception as well.
Because
And I think I believed, that everything was basically fine. And at the same time, I had also lost a huge piece of myself through compromise, time, necessity. You know, you need to just get on through it. And also, again, as we've talked about a few times, that kind of the co-creation of the
Yes.
relationship, and
Mm.
which you are a part of. You buy
Yes.
into it, you allow it to happen, and you
Yes.
kind of lose sight of yourself,
Yes.
right?
Mm.
Until
Absolutely.
that one day when the bomb is
Mm.
suddenly visited upon you. And it was at that moment, right? The thing you never, honestly, I never believed that would happen to me. I
No.
really never believed it. And I
Mm.
think both of us, it happened within, like a month of each other, yours, a month before mine. But there it was, this bomb that descends. And at first I imagined, oh, okay, so now I know you're unhappy and there's a problem here. Let's fix
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So at first it's quite devastating that you're
Yes.
like, okay, there's a problem, but you're thinking, oh, no, 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 we can fix this. We fixed everything
Absolutely.
else.
Yes. Hmm.
And then it turns out they don't want to fix it.
Mm.
Fair enough. That's their choice. But again, it's something you never imagined would happen.
Correct.
And now it feels like this incredible failure. And
Mm.
whether you feel blamed, in my case, I felt blamed, like this was my fault,
Mm.
um, or whether it's just, the other person says, well, I'm just kind of not into it anymore.
Mm.
Um, but it is that moment of failure, that moment of trauma that we never asked for, and yet it was chosen for you,
Yes.
but it becomes that becomes a moment of truth, right? Everything is stripped bare. Everything you thought you had, everything
Oh,
you
yes.
planned for the, through the end of your life has
Hmm.
now been irrevocably changed.
Yeah.
And what is your choice? You have no choice. You have to accept because the other
Mm.
person says, nope, I'm out.
I'm done. Hmm.
And now you have to accept the situation and you have to find a way forward.
Mm.
And in that, though, is this kind of once you get through some of the trauma, there's strength, there's
Hmm.
hope, there's sort of excitement about that next chapter,
Mm.
the next moment of creating something for yourself. There's still plenty of work to do, but you can kind of see a glimmer in the distance. And I think for me, that was, I mean, very quickly, I'm all about sort of problem solving.
Yes, I
Very
know.
quickly,
Yes.
got the therapist, started reading books, started
Yes.
working out where I was going to live, all of these
Mm.
sorts of things. I immediately
Mm.
went into project mode.
Mm.
But in that, there's also comfort because you've taken control of your life at a
Yes.
moment when you felt like you had no control.
Absolutely. I like that. Something I want to just mention again was about this failure. For me, um, the failure was failure of this fortress, this home that I'd built, this family that I'd created. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I poured everything into that. And now somebody has just ripped the cord without my prior knowledge, without any warnings.
Mm,
And I say without any warnings, but the reality is, looking back, there were warnings.
mm,
There were
yeah,
warnings. I didn't heed those warnings. I part of the dimming myself is that I silenced my inner voice. Slowly, I started over explaining things. I started, oh, he did this because, but I'm sure he won't do it again. He
yeah,
lied to me because I'm sure he won't do it again. And really, all of these warning signs were there. I didn't heed any of them. And for me, now looking back, and it's easier with hindsight, of course,
yeah, of
um,
course.
that bomb is exactly what I needed. Um, Somebody once said to me, and I really, really appreciated it, whether you believe in God or not, I'll call it God, the universe for this podcast and conversation. It's like, the universe just lives a little whisper in the ear, a little feeling in the stomach, you don't listen to it. A little nudge on the shoulder, you don't listen to that either.
Right. Mm, mm.
Kick in the knee. And then finally you get rammed over by a truck and
Or
you
the
start
face.
listening. And so don't confuse the trauma of divorce with the failure of marriage, because of course trauma follows. It's like moving continents. Of course it's a
Mm,
traumatic experience. Moving house, of course it's a traumatic experience. It's a massive change.
mm,
But it is really important for me to share with other women, and I know for us in particular, to share with other women that this is not a failure. This is not the end. This can be, this is that change. This can be that
mm.
beginning. It is a choice. It is a choice that you need to make. And I'm so
There will be many
grateful.
choices.
There will be many choices. Damn right, there will be many choices. You get to choose who you wish to be. You get to rediscover the woman beneath all those bloody hats and the roles that you needed to play.
Mm,
From mother, in your case, corporate business career woman, wife, secretary, PA, psychologist, driver, just so many different roles that you really forget about who Michelle is as a woman when you strip
mm.
all of those roles away. Who is Jackie as a woman? And in that space, and I guess once the dust is settled, you get to find her again. And of course, it took time, and it's still taking time. We always
And
tease
sh
around with
and
each
she's gonna
other.
be different, right? She's gonna be different to
Yes.
the woman that you knew in their 20s or 30s or
Oh gosh,
40s.
yes. And thank goodness for that. And now heading into my 50s as well. Big year for both of us. It's bloody exciting. And we get to peel back the layers. We get to rediscover this evolved person, and we also get to discover who we'd like to become and how we get there. And this learning and growing and constant developing, and learning learning to look at what muscles are working very well, and what are not, and what you need to
Mm,
develop, whether it be emotional intelligence, whether it's an aspect of emotional intelligence, whether it's being looking at yourself with admiration again, and really saying, "Oh, I like her. I like that person," or I don't, and I want to create change within myself because
and how and
mm,
sorry, I was gonna say, how empowering is that, right?
oh gosh, yes,
I mean, it's scary. I won't overlook that. I mean, for me,
really it is. Yeah,
challenges are kind of, what I love, but
yes,
knowing or admitting that there are parts of yourself that you would like to change. And
yes.
but it's quite exciting if you don't have someone standing there sort of going, what are you doing? No, this is who you are,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
now you can
mm,
just sort of reinvent or try things on. I mean, we've
mm,
talked about it in different ways, pretend to be
mm,
somebody else or,
mm.
meet new people, new friends, try on new
Yes,
suits, date new
yes,
people.
absolutely.
This is that moment when the only way to really discover who you now are or who you want to be
Mm.
is to experiment.
Absolutely. And that's fun when you get to experiment, you get to discover, you get to hype up the curiosity, really dial it up a lot. The other thing that I learned is, and I really want to emphasize this, is that my happiness, it's not a luxury.
No.
It is an absolute necessity. The desires for indulgence and, I thought they were indulgent at the time.
Yeah,
Now I know. No, it's my
I agree.
birthright. It is necessary. For me, a big part of 2024, 2025, and it will definitely be 2026 and continue, is discovering or creating wholeness within myself. And now that
Mm,
I'm on that path, I could never go back.
yes.
I could never go back to the woman I was, the situation that I was in. And it's a lifelong journey, but I have started on that path. And piece by piece, you start reclaiming what was lost. Before this podcast started, Michelle and I were talking about the concept of freedom. And I remember the first time I felt completely free, completely liberated as Jackie, the woman, not the mum,
Mm,
not the businesswoman, not the wife, the PA, the psychologist, the doctor, everybody else. No, just Jackie, the woman, the freedom I felt. I was able to breathe into myself. I love these words that you used. I was able to expand into myself.
Mm,
Um, and then my respect for myself, my admiration for myself. Um, I'm able to regain that individuality of what I like, what I enjoy, what
yeah.
I love to do. And then one of my favorite bits, because I was a married single woman for a very long period of time, was right to intimacy, the right to romance and passion.
Mm,
It's a huge part of who I am. And when dating, when having longer relationships, it is a huge part. Touch is
mm.
very important to me. And you rediscover this. And for such a long period of time, I was told, oh no, but we're getting too old, or oh, I'm too tired. And yes, perhaps those are valid, but for how long?
Well,
And you start
it's
believing.
this whole I mean, the whole kind of feminine side, my whole woman side, I
Mm.
largely sort of pushed aside, whether it
Yes,
was work or, COO of the family or
yes.
whatever it was. And
Mm.
I also didn't, I mean, I think I saw that sort of physical feminine side as, sort of an adjunct, but not that critical.
Yes.
And and part of my journey, as you well know, because you've heard it,
Hmm.
is that I've realized like this. In fact, I mean, I've just totally embraced the idea
Mm,
that physical affection, whether it's
mm,
touch or hugs or
mm,
beyond,
mm,
is so critical to who I am
mm.
and allows me to release and enjoy being a woman and being feminine and allowing someone else to take the reins. I mean, it all gets kind of bound up together when you're
Yes.
driving towards goals and you feel so responsible to just get through the day no matter what.
Yeah.
That stuff gets so pushed, it's pushed aside. And
Mm,
eventually I thought, it's not that important. I mean, it's
of
not
course.
critical. I mean, I
Yeah.
can get through the day without it.
Yes.
Sort of, I think is the answer. Not actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so I think the truth that we are trying to get across to people and
Mm,
that we wish someone had told us sooner, and maybe therapists
yes.
try to tell you, and maybe there's no way that anyone can tell you this,
Mm,
but divorce is not failure.
mm,
It's, another chapter. It's not
mm,
the end of your story. And in some ways, it may be the beginning, whether it's the beginning of really getting to know yourself and appreciating yourself, whether it eventually leads to another romantic relationship that hopefully fulfills you in new ways.
mm.
But in order for divorce not to just be a failure and sort of the end of the story, you have to make the choice. You have to
Yes.
choose to crack open the door, put a finger through, put a toe through, the leg,
Mm,
eventually the whole body. You
yes.
have to open yourself up to the opportunity. You have to be willing to try a new version of yourself,
Hmm.
not repeat the same patterns. And I think both of us, I mean, we see it, right? I mean, I had
Mm,
almost like a visceral reaction not that long ago when I saw myself, I kind of got triggered and reverted into the what I'm now calling old Michelle.
yes.
And I don't, oh my God, it was so frightening to me that
Mm,
even in a moment I could be triggered and revert after feeling like I had made so much progress.
yes.
But
Yes.
sometimes, maybe that awareness is part of the story too. So you
I think
step
the
through.
awareness is part of the progress.
Mm, yeah.
Because if you're not aware, if you're not conscious, you can't really make conscious decisions. So that's great. And now you're stepping through that door.
Both feet. Most of
Perfect.
my body.
Missing
Maybe
your
my
body.
head. Is my head through
Absolutely. Oh my
there?
good heavens. You said, and I want to highlight this again, it is a choice. The reframe is a choice. Divorce is not a failure. It is a choice that you need to make. It is uncomfortable. There's a lot of crappy bits in between, but there is hope. There is lots of
Joy.
light, joy, happiness. And it is really something that you're absolutely right, Michelle. I wish people had told that to us.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I had to discover it. And I was so grateful for you and I being champions to each
Mm.
other, supporting each other, elevating each other, inspiring each other to rediscover for me what I want is to live an extraordinary life. And I want that to be a huge part of who I am. A
The
life of,
wholeness.
yes.
I mean, to embrace all of it and not, as you've
Hmm.
said many times, sort of dimming or as I'm compromising and
Yes.
letting go. I mean, just to kind of like almost grab it all and
Yes.
enjoy
Yeah.
every side of life. And sometimes it's going to be tears. And
Yes.
sometimes it's going to be an incredibly full heart being with family or maybe a new partner or doing
Hmm.
something that you've always wanted to do and always dreamt of and couldn't.
Yes. Yes.
This is
Absolutely.
the chance.
Absolutely. And for us, it's really important that other women know this too. Not only is their life after divorce, but it can be a glorious one. And I think part of this, whether it's fulfillment with a romantic partner or not, I think for me, one of the biggest parts, and I know for us it is that we choose ourselves first now.
Yeah.
We choose ourselves first. We choose to love ourselves first. We choose to prioritize, to respect ourselves first. And through that, we grow, we develop, and I mean, goodness knows, we both tease about it and say, "Oh, hopefully by the time we die, we'll be there." We would have
Finished
achieved that
project, tick.
project finished, tick box. It is a lifelong project because we're evolving constantly. But the extraordinary life, the life that you've always dreamt of, and you determine what is extraordinary to you, the freedom, the respect, to have somebody actually walk by my side as opposed to me trailing behind, all of that is
Yeah.
possible. And if it was possible for us, know that it is possible for you. It's absolutely possible for you.
So, a couple little maybe just takeaways for
Mm,
our listeners.
mm,
I think one of the first things is, as we said, awareness and
yes.
being aware of, and sometimes it takes work to figure out where you are being silent or where you have dimmed yourself to protect an image, to compromise for somebody else.
Hmm.
You need to figure out what's really kind of important to the core of who you are now.
Mm,
Maybe it's something you
yes.
dreamed of doing 30 years ago and now you just don't really care.
Yes.
But what do you need to do? Which part of you is it that you're looking to bring out
Mm,
and to promote joy within yourself?
mm.
And just being aware of that and starting to work towards that, it's one of the bravest things you can do.
Yeah. And then the second thing is, what is the narrative that you choose to believe? Are you keeping the peace? And whose peace are you really keeping? It's a question I now ask myself. Because, of course, it's easier to compromise, it's easier to create a frictionless situation, but does that prioritize you?
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that we know is key and that we have both
Hmm.
eventually gotten to is gratitude.
Yes,
Gratitude, which
absolutely.
sounds very strange, but and we've done, we've talked about this before, but
We've had a
gratitude
podcast about it, yeah?
for, frankly, the divorce, for the bomb.
Yes. Yes.
I am now grateful for
Hmm.
my ex's courage. I mean, after many years of cowardice, can I just slip that in there? But his eventual courage to say, no, this isn't working for me, which
Yes.
forced me and forced us both, I think, in both
Mm-hmm.
of our cases, into a position of needing to recognize where we were and recognize that what we had wasn't what we thought, and
Yes.
frankly, wasn't what we really wanted in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to learn and lean into our strength because we both
Mm-hmm.
had amazing strength and amazing moments of crying and
Yes.
fear.
Yes.
But I am now, and I think you are as well, incredibly grateful
Oh gosh, yes.
And maybe, can I say this? Maybe, any current romantic partners might be
Mhm.
grateful as well.
Oh yes, I know mine is. And I know yours is as well. And why wouldn't he be? And then finally, figure out the next steps. Heal yourself. Build a community of women, friends, men around you that want to inspire you, that want to
Mm,
elevate you. And sometimes this journey means losing some people along the way as well.
mm.
It could be family, friendships. I remember, I remember at the beginning of my separation, when my ex said, "I'm really not interested. I don't love you anymore. It's time for us to split up." And I remember one of my girlfriends said to me, "I think you need to write him a note begging you to take him back." And I remember looking at her thinking, why would I do that? I've done absolutely nothing wrong. Why would you cannot force somebody to love you. If somebody clearly says, "I don't love you anymore,"
Mm.
why would you beg somebody to take you back? And these are
Absolutely.
the experiences that one thinks, I thought everybody would support me. But you realize, no, that is not the case. And then
Mm-mm.
sometimes it's about shedding the old. There is a little poem or expression about um, we all go through seasons in life, and some people are there for different seasons and different
It's true.
reasons. Yes, some are there for long periods of time, some are there for just short periods of time, and appreciate each and every one of those. I know for you it was family.
Yeah, my in-laws, right? I mean, there
Yeah.
were people I had who were my family for over
Mm,
30 years.
mm.
And the shock I felt when, I mean, I didn't expect them to take sides, but
Yes, of course.
I mean, I was just shocked when they basically just didn't reach out. They didn't, engage me at all, as if I had done
Mm,
something wrong and now they needed to take
yes.
sides with my ex. And
Mm,
we'd always had a great relationship. But what
yeah.
I also learned over time was I let some of them go and I didn't expect anything from them, while
Yes.
others within that same sort of group who maybe I hadn't been as close with in the past have sort of moved into the space of being friends and confidants, and
Mm.
in some ways, just a great, cheerleader in many
Yeah,
ways.
absolutely, absolutely. And for both of us, divorce wasn't something we wanted when we said "I do" until death do us part. I actually meant that.
I
I thought
believe it.
that yep, absolutely. I thought if there was a problem, we would fix it. That's what you do.
We would communicate, wouldn't we?
We would communicate, wouldn't we? We didn't. I didn't want it, but you know what? It was the best thing that I needed, and it gave me myself back again. And for many women who are walking this path, we want you to know there is life after divorce, and it can be a glorious one, whether it be freedom for yourself,
Yeah.
romance with a romantic partner, or just loving yourself, which is exactly what we need to do, loving ourselves first. And joy, that's not something we need to leave behind us. It's all ahead of us, and together we can claim that. So thanks for joining us on this wonderful, very personal, deeply personal episode of Dating James B2. And for those of you who need to share this with a friend, who need to inspire, who need to elevate a family member, go ahead, share it, and help us create and empower this beautiful community of dating James.
And if you're looking for more guidance, or a few laughs along the way, maybe a tear. We haven't done too many tears yet.
Yeah.
Please come join us on Dating Dames V2 on the
Mm.
socials.
Yeah, and until next time, embrace the adventure. Trust your instincts, and remember, above all, it's not about him, it's about you.